Welcome to Kicking in the Second Half. KISH YZ. We're back again. Episode 13. I am D. That's Groot, Hulk, the Black Panther. And tonight we're talking about elite point guards, so to speak, versus dominant bigs. Let's get straight into it. Top 10 guards, and then top 10 bigs. So we're going to list the top 10 of what we got, and we'll go from there. Is there somebody on the other side there? Hello?
Yo, what's happening? What's happening? Hugh here.
Back again, Hugh. Yeah, that's my co-host on the other side there. So yeah, Hugh,
Thanks
what do you think about
for
our
having
subject?
me.
What do you think about our subject?
I like our subject. I think this would made well also for a debate episode.
To be continued, maybe. So let's start it off. Like I said, let's do the top 10 guards right now. So let me start with 10 through 5, or sorry, 10 through 6 for me. I have on my list, I have 10 coming in. Ja Morant, followed by Ben Simmons, Jamal Murray, CP3, and Donovan Mitchell.
That's bro. Ours is extremely close.
Let's hear it.
I ain't gonna lie. At 10, I got Jamal Murray. At 9, I have Ben Simmons. At 8, I have Chris Paul. At 7, I have Trae Young. And 6, I have Donovan Mitchell.
Very close. I see you throwing some shade at Jamal Murray all over the place, man. Every episode we talk about Jamal Murray.
I had him at 9th, and then I drew an arrow and put him down to 10th.
You just have to drop him
off. I had to correct my mistakes. He's close.
You might as well, because I had Terry Rozier in parentheses because I almost put him in there for what they're doing, but I realized he doesn't do a lot of assists for me, so that's why I put John Morant.
Where's Trae Young at?
You might as well just took and put Terry Rozier instead of Jamal Murray because you're so salty about him.
Where's Trae Young at?
Okay, let's go my top 5 now. Top 5. Since I was so close, we might not need to discuss much as far as comparison, but I mean, do you want to go into top 5? I guess we don't need to argue. I'm just don't like that shade of Jamal Murray that you're giving, but we all see what you're doing there. I'm just going to go into it. Top 5 for me. 5 right now. I got Trae Young. There he is, Hugh.
Oh, okay.
There he is. He's top. I'm just giving him 5 right now. You're making me explain myself before I finish the list, but 5 because of what they're doing, where they're at since the All-Star game. So he's actually doing, he's doing something. So if he's the go-to guy and he's leading his team, he's doing a decent job, according to the record. 4, I got your guy, Steph Curry there. 3, I got. You're gonna cut me off every time here. Let me finish. 3.
That is disrespectful.
Luka. 3, Luka. 2, Lillard. Number 1, your second fave, James Harden.
Oh man, you are something else. Okay, there's a guy you left off this list. I'm extremely surprised you left off this list. He comes in at the 5th spot for me. That is Russell Westbrook.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I got Russell Westbrook at 5. I have Luka Doncic at 4, James Harden at 3, Damian Lillard at 2, and my boy Steph Curry at 1.
Okay, yeah, let's dive into this before we get into the top 10 bigs. I mean, this conversation is elite guards, point guards versus dominant bigs. But I want to tell you why I left Russ off. I mean, I'm going off, I had that as a follow-up question for later, but as far as if we didn't have him on the list or if he was real low on your list, but I left Russ off because of the inconsistency. I mean, the numbers are elite, and I was going to ask you if he is still considered an elite guard, but obviously you have him in your top 10 list. And it's not that I see him as somebody who faded off because I love the guy, but I just didn't put him on the list because of just where they're at. And he's in the mix. He's kind of been traded around a couple different times. And, the situation's kind of repeating itself where he's on a team where it looks good. It reminds me of the last season or two. I guess not the last season because he had Paul George when he was in OKC, but that time in between when they had, I guess, Victor Oladipo in between Kevin Durant and that Paul George trade. It just reminds me so much of that, where the Wizards are, where he can just put up ridiculous numbers, but it doesn't really amount to a whole lot if they don't make the playoffs. I mean, yeah, I hope they make the playoffs. Did the standings change tonight for them? I mean, they took an L tonight against Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, I didn't look at the standings
It's
before the
fine.
podcast.
It's fine. But yeah, I just thought that because of the inconsistency, I just didn't know where to put him. I was just looking at the list and I was like, I feel like Russell Westbrook should be on here. And I really did think about it because I wanted to put him on the list. And then I was just thinking about what so many of the other guys are doing consistently. I mean, maybe it could have been number 10 for me, but I'm just considering that he is putting up some big numbers. And sometimes they're winning the games and then sometimes they're losing games that I think they should win. Anything you want to touch on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just shocked you don't have him on there anywhere. I mean, you know, I'm a big Russell Westbrook critic. I guess is a good way to have it, but I mean, the guy's putting up triple double. I know you touched on, you know, it hasn't really reflected into wins, but I mean, he's putting up amazing numbers. I guess the difference between him and Harden is Harden's putting up close to the same numbers with all his triple doubles, but they're actually winning. So I do see what you're saying there. Um, it kind of surprises me you have Steph so low at 4, because I mean,
Wait a
who
minute.
knows?
Wait a minute. Maybe I should have stated this at the beginning. It's not just them being elite as far as their individual talent. I also considered, and we should have both considered, where their teams are positioned currently or where they might be headed towards as far as, how much do they provide wins for the team. So I guess that's one of the reasons why I left off Westbrook. I could have put him at 10, but like if I'm going over my whole list, Simmons, you see where Philly is, Jamal Murray, Denver, they're climbing. CP3, they're still number 2 in the West. Donovan Mitchell, they're number 1 in the West. And then Trae Young, for what he's doing, got them in the middle of the pack on the East. Steph Curry, yeah, they're not, I guess, outside of the top 8, but they're right there. If this standings hadn't changed from the other day, they were number 10, but it's so close in the West. And we know that he missed some games, so they dropped. So when, he's on the court, he does provide a lot there as far as contributing towards a win. Luka, obviously, and yeah, Dame and Harden, those are no-brainers there. My order's just a little bit different from yours. But why do you have Steph Curry number 1? Favoritism
I
or
mean, I mean, maybe slightly favoritism, but I mean, another thing too. I thought about. We've talked about the Warriors' expectations for this year, with no Clay and stuff like that. And I remember your bud was on here for that episode, and we were talking about how they were exceeding expectations and doing better than they thought, and it was a testament to Curry. We're talking about how this year is different from past seasons where people have said he hasn't been able to carry the team. I know they're 10th or 9th or wherever they're currently at, but I mean this year he's at least has them in contention, and that's pretty much a testament to himself and himself only. I think you don't see Kelly Oubre or Wiggins really carrying much. So I mean I just think that the record doesn't reflect it, but he's doing an incredible job this season trying to keep the Warriors in it. So that's one reason he's won. Probably a little biased too, and the greatest shooter in history too. But yeah, so I actually did put a little thought into that, and I put Dame at 2 because I mean what he was able to do with McCollum, he was able to keep them right in there too without McCollum, and then Harden, obviously he's that high because what he's been able to do in Brooklyn without the other superstars there for a little bit when it was just him or just him and Kyrie, he was still taking over. So yeah, those are why I got those guys. Yeah, I just got going back down. I just got. I probably think Trae Young has better talent than Donovan Mitchell, but I put Mitchell one spot in front of him because of Utah and what they've been able to do and how great they've been playing. So that is actually why I put Mitchell in front of Trae Young.
Okay, I mean I understand that part, but yeah, the Curry pick. I mean, what you touched on, your explanation for Harden is why I boosted him up to number 1 for me because of he's doing it without the other guys. Now, if he was playing with Kyrie and or Durant, yeah, he would have just dropped down. But I mean, he's basically doing what Curry does, but with a little bit more attributes with the assist and everything, and he's keeping them up there as far as the seedings in the East. But yeah, I guess there's not
I
much
respect
else
it. I
to
respect it.
talk on outside of I guess Russell Westbrook was the big outlier for me compared to your list. Let's
Yeah,
move on to the bigs.
we were pretty close. I'm impressed we were that close.
We were close. We were close. I mean,
I did.
sometimes with the guards, it's kind of obvious because of they make a lot of impact. I mean, in the games, you hear their names mentioned a lot more often. I mean, people tend to gravitate towards the guards because of the way their game looks, or the finesse and everything in their game. It just looks cleaner, and it looks like, okay, that's fun. I want to try that sometimes, especially if a player has a signature move.
Yeah, well, see, one of these players on the big list, that it does not, where he's ranked has nothing to do with how they're performing this season. I just thought about that. So
All right, you
we'll
kick off
cross
the
that
big
bridge.
ones.
Okay.
Bottom
Okay.
five.
I feel like we're gonna have some different ones here. I put some different guys in. But
Okay.
at 10th I have Valanciunas.
Okay.
At 9th I have Kristaps Porzingis. At 8th I have Clint Capella. 7th I have Sabonis. And at 6th I have Bam Adebayo.
Okay, not much overlap for me except for maybe Sabonis, to be honest. Let me tell you what mine is. Obviously, I have, like I said, something completely different outside of just a few names. Vucevic, I had him at number 10. I wanted to put AD, but he's just been out so long so far this season. So I put Vucevic at number 10, and only because of the recent trade. We don't have a big enough sample, but that small sample pool of what he's doing in Chicago, as far as numbers wise, it hasn't been the numbers obviously he put up in Orlando, where he was the number one option. So, that could be destined to change. We'll see, but it just dropped me down a little bit because I wanted to throw in, going forward. Obviously, he's not leaving Chicago this season. He's there now. So that's what dropped him. But like I said, I wanted to put Anthony Davis, but he's just missed so much time for me. So I kind of left him out. But in a normal sense, if we're considering career, he should definitely be on the list. Number 9, I put Cat. Number 8, Bam. 7, Sabonis. 6, Gobert. I see you shaking your head. What stands out for you on my list?
Yeah, that you talked about one of the guys I talked about who is way higher on my list.
Which guy? Mention him.
Karl Anthony.
Karl Anthony Towns. Okay, well, obviously, like you said, he's on your list, but higher. So I'm just going to explain why I have him so low. I have him so low because of the Timberwolves have the worst record in the league. And yeah, he missed a lot of time. So you can't put the full blame on the guy. But yeah, he is a dominant big. He's a dominating big, but we've seen this over and over where he puts up some great numbers, but the team doesn't reflect as far as the stretch of playoffs or the lack thereof when it comes to season wins to get them in position. They're not even close right now. And yeah, he does put up ridiculous numbers, but I criticize him so much because I feel like even though he puts up the numbers that we see, he can be so much better. I feel like there's still more to his game. And yeah, he's still young. He's not even in his prime. But I just felt like when he had made statements before about wanting to be or thinking he's better than Anthony Davis, as far as being the best Kentucky product to enter the league, use that challenge of, okay, let me make sure that I am better than Anthony Davis. Not something close where people are like, yeah, he's kind of like Anthony Davis. You want to be better. You kind of want to be your own guy. I mean, yeah, Cat, his name alone stands out, but that took a hit for me because I see some other guys that are doing some similar things, but are in better situations. I mean, it doesn't help that Deandre Russell hasn't been playing, but like I said, I have my reasons. When I get to the top 5. You want to go?
Yeah, and I respect
You want to
that
grill me
looking
some
back.
more?
Yeah, I'm just saying about Cat. I respect that. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have had him so high.
I mean, it's
I'm just
no
pretty big
disrespect
on
to
him.
his game. I think his game is great, but I just think there's more, and I want to see it.
Okay. Yeah. At 5, I have Nikola Vucevic. At 4, I have Karl Anthony Towns. At 3, I have Rudy Gobert. At 2, I have Joel Embiid, and at first, I have Nikola Jokic.
Okay. Okay. I respect that. I mean, I guess I shook mine up a little bit. I'm looking at some guys who potentially play power forward, but they occasionally can play center. So I have some different names actually on my list that wasn't mentioned at all in your list. But number 5, I have Julius Randle, believe it or not, because of what he's been doing this season. And this guy, his prime will be coming up. So he made a big leap. He made an all-star game. And yeah, I know this is just one season, but the way he's playing and that motor he has that I wish Karl Anthony Towns had as far as wanting to improve, like you're already good, but you could be greater. Julius Randle, yeah, he's performing at a high level now. I think he can go higher. But what he's doing for the season, I mean, it's the Knicks. We didn't think going into the season they'd be where they're at, and he's a big part of it. So I got to give him his props. Number 5 right there. 4, Embiid, just because of injury. 3, Zion. Zion, what he's doing, his ability to just be a mini Shaq is what they're talking about. So I like what he's bringing. And number 2, I have Giannis. I know he doesn't really play center, but he does play the power forward. And just because of what he can do with the rebounding, I had to put him at a big because that's just what he is to me all the time. And Jokic was my number 1.
Yeah, that's not a bad list. Yeah, you went for more power forwards definitely than me. If I was putting power forwards in, I would definitely have Giannis probably at 2, and I would have Zion easily in the list. But yeah, I mean, I just well, I know Porzingis plays some power forward, don't he? And Sabonis, I think they both play, and Bam, right? They all play a little bit of power forward too, right?
Yeah, I mean, my list right here was kind of, I mean, Bam is primarily power forward. My list pretty much consists of a mixture of bigs that do the traditional things, but bigs that do a little bit more than the traditional. So yeah, obviously Giannis was kind of like an outlier, but Jokic with the assist. Bam does do assists, so that's why I did have him on my list, as well as Sabonis. Gobert's basically like the more traditional center here out of everybody I have on my list. Randall shoots a little bit more threes than some of the others. Embiid's footwork. I mean, I'd have him higher if he wasn't injured right now. And then obviously he's always had some type of injury throughout his career, so that's nothing new. So that's why he dropped for me. But I mean, earlier in the season, I probably would have had him. You know, when they were talking about him leading the MVP candidacy, I probably would have had him at number 2, to be honest. But Zion, he crept up. He's crept up a little bit for me on to number 3. And yeah, I just like what I'm seeing from him. He's staying healthy and he's putting up good numbers, consistent numbers now, and he's ready to run. He's ready to go. So I'm definitely invested in that. You were just talking about him before we got on here.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, yeah, to touch on mine, Jokic at 1 for me, pretty obvious choice. I think for both of us there, probably the front runner for a lot of people's MVP right now. I haven't beat it too. I know he's missed a little time with injuries, but I mean, the Sixers are still first in the East, and he was probably the front runner MVP for a lot of people before he got injured. Yeah, at 3 I got Gobert. He doesn't score. He doesn't put up as many points as I really like, but I mean, he's amazing on defense, and his team has the best record in the whole league. So that says something, and he is a dominant big man, in my opinion. Yeah, Carl
Oh yeah,
Anthony,
for
we've
sure.
already talked on him. Yeah, we already spoke on Carl Anthony. I probably have him a little too high. Vucevic, I got him at 5. I know he puts up good numbers in my opinion. I know he hasn't even had a double double yet with Chicago through 2 games, but he put up good numbers in Orlando. He made an All-Star game this year, so I know if the team was better, he might have took 4th for me, to be honest. But I know his teams haven't really reflected that. Bam, yeah, I got Bam at 6. Bam's balling. Sabonis at 7. We did a PPF yesterday about him. If you haven't watched that, be sure to go check that out. But yeah, made the All-Star game this year. Capella, I'm a big Capella guy. His injuries worry me a little bit, but I think he was around the All-Star break leading the league in rebounds per game. Probably still is. I saw tonight he had like 17. or something like that. So he's probably still around there. I have Porzingis at 9. I don't have too much to say about him. I don't think he's the same player he was when he was in New York. But I mean, injuries have got him pretty bad too. And then at 10, I put Valanciunas. I was debating between a couple other guys, but I was just like, man, he's one of them sneaky big guys. I like Valanciunas. You don't hear too much about him. He just shows up and does his job. I think, what did I say last night? I think he put up 30 or something last night. So I mean, he can do it if he has to, but it's just one of them guys you don't hear too much about, but I think has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a sneaky pick to put on your list there, and I think, yeah, shout out to him because he does do a tremendous job at doing his job at times, and sometimes the numbers don't reflect, but yeah, he's definitely capable of doing that for that roster. It'd be interesting to see what he does when Jaren Jackson returns to full health. I guess that basically won't be till next season, but yeah, I mean, that was a good pick because like you said, you didn't have some of the power forwards on your list. So, you take that out and do strictly centers. Yeah, I guess I would have had him on my list as well.
Nice.
Let's but since you were talking about some of these players, I want to go ahead and jump down to people who fell off of this list. You already took some of what I was wanting to talk about with Russell Westbrook, with me not thinking about you having him on your list. He was like one of my kind of like, is he a fallout type of guy as far as on the guard side? But on the big side, yeah, I didn't have Porzingis, and I purposefully didn't have Porzingis because I felt like, with him being that unicorn that he was back in, his days with the Knicks and then coming to Dallas, just the injuries and everything, I think he just kind of fell off a little bit as far as production. And it's just mainly due to injuries. I think he still has it in him, but I don't know how going forward, how his career would shape out to be if he ever makes it like a full healthy season. But he's a guy I left off the list. I just thought he kind of fell out of that conversation of, top 10 big / power forwards, but he could easily be in there if he was playing like he used to and stayed healthy.
Yeah, I respect that. I respect that. A couple guards that were close to my making my list, that didn't. The first one was John Wall. I think John Wall's he's missing a lot of games this year, but I think he's having a decent season. But yeah, just injuries, man. And at one point I would have had him on this list for sure. But yeah, it's just the injuries.
John Wall used to be
And
like super elite, and you look at some of his numbers when he's having a peak game, and it's like, man, that was John Wall. That used to be John Wall all the time. But yeah, definitely one of those guys that's kind of taking a step back, unfortunately.
yeah, and then another guy is Ja. I'm not gonna knock on Ja. I'm big on Ja. If this list was 11, he would have been my 11th, for sure. And then yeah, the last guy that I had written down I was thinking about was Malcolm Brogdon. We did a PPF on him too, along with Sabonis last night. So again, if you haven't watched that video, go check it out. But yeah, we talked about him last night. I'm not gonna say too much. He's a really good guard. He's having his best season this season, but he's not quite elite yet. I think he has the potential. He's amazing defensively, like we touched on. I think he has everything you want. So yeah, I thought about him, but he ain't on that elite level for me yet. He's just about one step below it for me.
Speaking of Brogdon as well, yeah, that gets into my next thing as far as the guards who are on the rise, and that's where I had Brogdon. I don't want to say like, he fell off of the list because he used to be there. Like, I don't think he was ever there quite yet, but I think he's somebody that can get there. As far as, let's say for me, Chris Paul, he takes a step back or he's out of the league in a few years when Brogdon's like in the middle of his prime. I think Brogdon can definitely be on that list if he stays, if not consistent, but just a little bit more better for me and maybe, make an all-star team. Other guards I had as far as on the rise were De'Aaron Fox. I had John Morant because I don't have him quite there yet, even though I did put him at number 10. But at first I had Terry Rozier. But I mean, yeah, kind of on the border. But so if he wasn't on your list, yeah, that's kind of where I would put him for you. Deshante Murray, I did a PPF on him. So if you haven't seen that video, check him out as well. He's somebody to keep an eye out for. I don't think he's quite at anywhere close to an elite guard. This year's not even like an all-star level performance, but the guy has it in him. So, he's just kind of under the radar. It's kind of like that Spurs atmosphere thing. You don't really pay attention to Spurs. Nobody watches the Spurs. As soon as a player goes somewhere else and they usually get more attention. And then also my guy here that I'm repping, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, upcoming elite guard. He had a full season to train under Chris Paul, in my opinion, last year. So he's going to have some tricks in his bag, and he can shoot the three. He's a great playmaker, and he's great at reading defensive plays. So I like his game all the way around, and I think he's somebody that's definitely going to be an all-star. We got to do a PPF on that guy, bro, at some point. But yeah, shout out to my boy Shea, because I definitely see him making this list in a couple of years.
Yeah. I'll probably touch on three guys, and two of them are guys you mentioned. I really like your De'Aaron Fox pick. He's been balling out for Sacramento, and I like your Shea Gilgeous pick. Both of those guys, I think could be elite very soon and easily on this list. Another guy I wanted to touch on. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I have him on my list. But I think he could get better. Would be Jamal Murray. I see the way you're looking. He just needs to.
I mean, if there's something he's got to do to make your list, then he can do it.
I call it inconsistency, but you said he was tired after the bubble. He did not play up to many people's standards till about a little bit before the All-Star break.
If any of the viewers are keeping up with the league, keeping up with our podcast as well, please do not sleep on Jamal Murray. I'm not saying he's the best guard ever, the best guard in the league, but do not sleep on the guy. What we saw in the bubble, I don't think that's a one and done. Some of those performances are going to be hard to replicate, but that was an exhausting run for them. And I think we can all admit that all those 7-game series and the teams that they went through, Utah, number 1 in the league this year. They didn't really change anything about their team. Going through the Clippers and then having to battle the Lakers, even though they didn't go 7 games with them. That's tough. That's a lot going on there, bro. And yes, also speaking of De'Aaron Fox, because we both had him, tune into our next episode 14, because I have something I want to mention a little bit about him. And maybe that's the reason why he isn't on that elite status yet, but he's on the tier, on the cusp there of making it.
Yeah, and Murray, I do knock him a lot. I do say a lot of bad things about him, but no, I mean, I have him on this list. A guy that can rise. He has potential, and we saw it in the bubble. We're seeing it now, primarily after the All-Star break. They're balling. Denver's moving up the standings. He's a big part of that. So, yeah, he just keeps playing the same way, and keeps on that same level, and I think he could possibly move up some for me on this list.
We're going to keep him on the Hugh radar, because sometimes when you say stuff about players, they turn out to be completely opposite of what you said. So he's on the Hugh radar. That's a new thing for us.
Hey, he could easily fall off.
I mean, then your prediction would be right. You have other predictions that's been right or spot on or close, but this is a Hugh radar first. Jamal Murray. Hugh, we're going to keep track of that. Go ahead and lead us into the bigs. Any bigs out there that we missed on the list? I mentioned Porzingis. What do you have on yours? Any honorable mentions?
I had them wrote down, and I don't know what I did with the paper.
It's all right. Well,
I think I threw that one away.
If I could jog your memory a little bit.
I can tell you this. I have written down a couple that could be high risers for me.
What's that?
Well, I have two guys to talk about that are they're on my list, but I could see them potentially getting higher. The first one's Bam Adebayo. I really like his game, and I think I don't see him cooling down anytime soon. If anything, I have him getting better. And then the other guy is a guy we've been talking about a lot the last 24 hours is Sabonis. Just playing better every season, made back-to-back All-Star games, and he just seemed to be getting better. And he's extremely young. He's not even near his prime yet. So just one guy that can just keep on getting better.
Yeah, Sabonis is a hot topic for us right now. Like,
He's
yeah,
good.
this guy, yeah, he's good. He's good. Making an all-star team. Second time in a row. So yeah. Yeah. But on my list of high risers, Siakam. I know you talk about Siakam. He was inconsistent here and there. Go ahead. What do you have to say about him? What do you
I
think?
love my boy. I love my boy Siakam. But yeah, man, here lately, man, he'll ball out for about 30 points a game, and then the next game put up like 6, 8. I'm like, man, you got to get more consistent. They need you there
That's
in
that's
Toronto,
what he needs.
there in
He needs
Tampa.
consistency and more of a 3-point shot. So there for when he gets into the paint, he's a little bit more of a consistent finisher and can put up consistent numbers. Adding the 3-point shot to your game in this modern time, shout out to Dwayne, can definitely change how consistent you are and how obviously teams have to defend you since there's no hand checking. Another guy on the list, Aiton, DeAndre Ayton
He
for
was close to
Suns.
making my top 10.
Really, really, yeah. I
Extremely
didn't have him
close.
in my top 10, but I had him as a high riser. Again, another guy who I could see a lot more improvements to come for him. I hope he doesn't stay stagnant and stay where he's at. I want to see him improve, and when he does, yeah, he's definitely going to be an all-star. Upon any improvements that he can make towards his game, and keep a lookout for him. I'm going to be mentioning him as well in episode 14. And then my other guy, last but not least, on that list of high risers is a guy you're kind of big on because of fantasy. Can you take a guess? Plays on the East. He was traded earlier this season. Earlier.
Mm, high riser plays in the East. It's not Capella, is it? That was last
No,
year.
no, he was traded earlier this season. He was in a
He's a big
big
man
trade. He was in a big 3-team trade.
in fantasy or in real life.
In real life, you have him in fantasy or had him.
Dude, I'm drawing a blank.
That's
I'm
all
gonna
right.
be.
We don't want to hear any crickets, so I'm going to go ahead and name drop him. Jared Allen. What do you think of him?
How
There's the
did I
reaction.
not think? Come on, man. How did I not think of him? Yeah, yeah. I loved him. I mean, he was putting up crazy good numbers in Brooklyn, and then they traded him to the Cavs. I know at first his numbers. You even told me when we were playing fantasies, like, hey man, he's competing with Drummond now. You might wanna think about cutting him or keep an eye on him. You might want to drop him. And then look, he actually took Drummond's drop him. So I mean, yeah, he's a baller, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. I'm glad you didn't drop him because I was like, man, I don't know what Cleveland's doing right now because you wouldn't expect Drummond being on that contract that he signed, to be cut or to be a player that they were going to trade because he was, not that old. He's fairly young in his prime. But Jared Allen, he's even younger. So, yeah, that guy is a monster when it comes to being like that traditional big. He's like the next upcoming Rudy Gobert, I guess, in the sense of where he doesn't really, I don't think he shoots or attempts any threes, to be honest. But man, he can defend the paint, he can catch lobs and finish. So yeah, definitely that old school type of center. Hugh, yes, sir.
Yeah, one other guy while you were talking, I thought of a high riser for me. I think like this guy is pretty obvious, but James Wiseman for me. Shout out the Warriors, but yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
yeah, he
rookie,
could definitely go in the list. I mean, he's fairly young, so I mean, he's got a lot of potential to rise. Go ahead and speak your
yeah,
piece.
yeah. So I mean, it's just he only played what, like 2 college games or something like that, and got taken so high in the draft. So I mean, I think honestly this season he's kind of exceeding expectations. No one really expected him to come in year one and be a Jokic or an Embiid. But I mean, he has a 3-point shot. He can slam it down, alley oops. I think he earlier in the season he was having trouble, foul trouble. I haven't heard much here lately that he's been in that trouble as much. So maybe he's trying to getting better with that. I know Draymond's teaching him up every chance he can.
Yeah, and
But
that's
yeah, it's just a guy, not just because he's on the Warriors, but just a guy I have a lot of hope in, and just think year after year he can continue to grow his game and get better.
Yeah, that's the best thing for him. What you mentioned is Draymond Green coaching him up because he is a rookie. So let's not forget that sometimes when rookies coming into the league, they are still playing like they're in college and not acclimated to either the season as far as the longevity of the season, how close games are played, and the minutes that they're playing in the league and the experienced players that they're going against. You know, it's no longer people straight out of high school or 1 or 2 years removed from high school like they are in college. So yeah, he's definitely got the right mentor, and he's on one of the best teams he can be on as far as studying the game and learning how to acclimate to the league. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely somebody. I'm not sure if we talked about somebody to look out for in the second half of this season. Just not necessarily having a huge breakout, but obviously picking up the slack that he was missing when he was drafted in the first part of the season before the All-Star game. So he's definitely on the rise, and it looks like the league is on schedule to be going into a more traditional, normalized schedule for the season of 2021 to 2022. So he should have some training as far as developing more skill and more potential in the off season. And I'd be excited to see what he brings to the table next year. I mean, they drafted him in hopes that he'd be the starting center. And I know sometimes he wasn't starting because they chose to do a different route, but obviously he's got that position. As long as he keeps developing his game, it's his, and he will have a role in that team. But yeah, definitely a high riser. I mean, yeah, man, you're picking him young. You like him young, bro. I mean, he's not even a full year in, but yeah, definitely somebody to look out for. You know what? That made me think. Not somebody that young, but another big riser for the bigs. I'm gonna let you take another crack at this. You were talking about him the other day. Plays on the East. Their team is doing well. They're in the middle of the pack. I love playing these guessing games with you.
Knicks, Charlotte.
Power forward.
John Collins.
John Collins, yes, that's the guy. What do you think of
Let's
him?
get it.
I mean, that
Man,
guy
he's a
can put up
baller.
numbers. I mean, this is a guy that the Hawks thought about trading. I still don't know if they're going to try to trade him in the offseason. I don't know why they're trying to trade him. I like his game, and the guy keeps improving. He keeps improving. He's been in the league. What is this? It's Trae Young's, third year, I think. So this would be like his fourth year. I think this is about John Collins' fourth year. So that puts him at an age around 24 years old or so, somewhere around there, 23 to 25. So yeah, this guy, he's like Hugh said, he's a baller, man. Like just somebody you want to definitely keep an eye out. If he goes to another team and he's one of the focal points for that team, this guy could definitely be an all-star. Another guy who we need to do a PPF on because I don't think he gets enough respect. And if you're a casual fan and you obviously haven't heard of his name, he's a guy. He's a guy. Hugh, you want to add anything to that? Or anybody else we left off that you can think of real quick? I know that we didn't necessarily cover everybody, but we did our best.
Let me ask you this: just a guy that came up when I was thinking about this list. Where does Nurkic rank for you? A healthy Nurkic.
I mean, that's the key word there is healthy. It's hard to say because the health, he just kind of fades away. I'm going to mention him a little bit in the next episode as well. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that because that episode ties in with this episode. We're actually shooting that back to back. But Nurkic, yeah, right now he's not on the list. Could he be on the list? Sure. But I mean, I can't remember his age. He's a little bit older, almost entering his prime years. If we were doing a PPF on that guy at one point, I think he was on the Nuggets as well with Jokic, but they chose one over the other. So at this point, it looks like they made the right decision in which one they chose to keep. But yeah, he definitely has potential, but the health is an issue. I mean, the guy can shoot the three. He can definitely rebound, give you double doubles, but he needs to stay healthy or you'll never climb. You'll just be somebody who's a role player on the team. So yeah, for me, far from elite at the moment. If he was healthy this year, borderline all-star, but right now still away, not as far away as from being an all-star. Yeah, he's just somebody that he's good to have on the team, but right now he's just a really, really good role player in my opinion.
Respect that.
Hugh, shout out. I'm gonna give out a shout out to Jim Coop. If you're interested in little, miniature models, I guess, of what is it, like World War II hue, Vietnam. You know, he does these big displays, like these maps, villages, and he paints the little figures. It kind of reminds me, if you've seen the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin, where, you know, he's painting the little figures, but he has those little figures in there. And yeah, he's one of our, you know, early followers. So I want to give a shout out to him. His YouTube page is Coops Troops, Coops COOP apostrophe S. Is it Troop or Troops? I hope I'm getting it right. Troops. But yeah, I was watching one of his videos today. I thought it was pretty cool, actually. I'm going to leave a comment on his video because he was doing like a Vietnam War. I believe my grandfather served in that. So yeah, shout out to the veterans as well. Shout out to my grandpa.
Yeah,
He doesn't watch this.
I just said shout. I was just about to say shout out your grandpa.
Oh, thanks, bro. That's lovely.
Nah,
man.
yeah.
Shout out to all the vets.
Yeah, shout out ACAL. One of the one of our first 5-6 subscribers, I think. Early, he was early.
He dropped the first comment for us too. Yeah, shout out to
ACAL. So shout out. You know, I'll be over at his house and he'll be have one of our videos on, watching it, asking me about some stuff. So yeah, shout out to ACAL.
Yeah, shout out, bro. I appreciate it. Much respect, bro. Appreciate the love. Yeah, if anybody else want to show some love, definitely give us a thumbs up. If you like the video, give us a sub. If you want to see more videos and stay posted for when we do new release videos, yeah, definitely keep following us here on KISH YZ, KISH space YZ on YouTube, and under the same name if you want the audio only versions of the podcast recordings and some of our PPF recordings on anchor.fm, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Pocket Casts. This has been another episode of KISH YZ. Thank you, YouTubers. Peace and love.